Hi, I want to dedicate to this video to a concept that's pretty arcane again, and uh, is treating the whole society as a calculation or as a computer, which means that there is processes that goes on in every society that resembles a calculation, and some countries or some ancient people have seen the same calculation over and over, and they pretty much know what will be the outcome. For example, the Russians have seen invasion from other European nations like Germany and France, and this calculation ended up very badly for Napoleon and Hitler. A lot of Germans and French died. Um, they, they were both similar calculations, as the Germans and the French, they occupied large portions of the Russian Empire, and then winter came and they had dug in there with tin supply lines, and the Russians regrouped and attacked again, and totally dissected them. Is this calculation repeating in Syria with Daesh or ISIS? I don't know. I think this is probably the same calculation. Uh, the other forms of this calculation is the French attacking Arab countries like Algeria or Morocco or other countries and taking over, and then the locals fighting back and making things very uncomfortable for the French, and they would leave. Another form of this calculation would be the British going to India and taking over, and then things going sour and they leave. Well, a lot of these empires and these ideas start out and they seem to be great success, like the invasion of Iraq or Afghanistan. But as the things drag on, it becomes increasingly more difficult and expensive to maintain these ideas, to maintain the empire, to maintain presence there. And these entities, they have to leave, and they know it. And so this has left an imprint in different cultures, in Iranian culture, in European culture, as regards to the Mongolians and the Soviets and the Germans or the Ottomans. This is a calculation that they have seen it in one form or another. Well, there is a strange verse in Quran that says that search out in the earth and see the remains of these older empires, and they were certainly greater in strength than what we have today. This is certainly true in our times, and I was when I was coming to United States. It was 1977. The Shah was still in full power, and everything was going hunky dory. He was just being a bit too oppressive, and then I came here. I went to New Hampshire to study English, and then I went to Indiana to study engineering, and then I went back. Hardly a year and a half has passed, and when I went back, the government had been overthrown completely, and there was some chaos. There was all these newspapers and all this talk, and I stayed this summer, and my dad, he told me he does not want to see me back there anymore, because he was not happy with the way things were going, and they wouldn't be certainly safe. So I took his advice and I never went back. But while I was there in the summer, this idea came to me, how people are able to deconstruct the totally despotic regime, I mean, one that has all these resources, or how people are able to get rid of the French or the British or the Nazis or the when they don't have too many weapons, too many political power. How the Syrians were able to get rid of all these foreign fighters. How the Cubans got rid of the U.S.-backed rebels. How does it happen? I mean, what goes on? What mechanisms are there available to native people to divest themselves of influence that they don't want? This became very valuable. I mean, there is a thinking or a calculation going on in the back of the minds of the people, and it's interesting how things always turn out the same. That the foreign-backed or foreign entity finds it increasingly more and more expensive and difficult to stay, and the internal players always find a way to get rid of them. This is very valuable. It's history that has repeated itself over and over again, and there was a scientist that said that each animal is like a calculation in nature. So all of nature itself is a computer, and well, each animal evolves for a given environment and a given set of inputs, given set of fruits and vegetables or prey, and when the environment changes, if the animal changes with that environment, then it can survive. But if it finds it difficult or is reluctant to change, then it becomes a candidate for extinction. And we could look at the history of empires and see the underlying technology, how when it changed, the empire, it didn't have legs to stand on, it was falling apart. Well, what one could say about the American empire with the oil, because all the money that was available 5-10 years ago went into reinvestment in the oil sector, and now we have all these countries producing oil, and there is a lot of oil, not only underground but it's also have been pumped up, and the prices of oil has collapsed. Is there any reason to believe that this price will come back? No. I mean, if an empire is able to issue credit based on oil and other commodities, and that commodity or oil or whatever energy collapses in price, then what happens to the financial sector of that empire? What will happen down the road? These are interesting questions. I think this is the end, but this calculation hasn't come to a completion. We are seeing the progress. So basically, I'm saying that the society, just like nature, is a quantum computer, or is doing parallel processing. There's millions of calculations that are similar, running side by side, and we would be very interested to see how the outcome would be. I would say that this empire is going to fall apart and be truncated into a much smaller version of it, and this era that we are in is coming to an end, and this is the very end of it, and energy will become very cheap. You can now really build up huge companies based on this income, based on this. It's like a guy like Hassan. He's got a disability, and he works a little bit too, and he's got all these philosophical ideas, but really he's not the jet set type of kind of guy, and I just cannot live that lifestyle. I don't have the money to fly to Nevada or Atlantic City and gamble for a weekend and come back. Everything will be all right. It can't happen. Not on this income and not on this on this kind of lifestyle. But maybe it will. I mean, who knows? The 500 years down the road, that's a long time too, right? If somebody is here like me, Hassan, as a philosopher, and people buy up his ideas, yeah. Anyhow, I think the underlying economics of the empires have collapsed, and it's only a matter of time that the political and military consequences of these changes will become apparent to everybody, and we can apply these concepts of society as a computer to other things. And another concept that I noticed is that I used to work as a buyer, a closeout buyer, and sometimes I would buy a merchandise and I bring it into the market, and somebody has sold that already, and I could see that the businesses that I was trying to sell this merchandise to, they have already factored in this discount, which, you can take that into a stock market, and you can see that they already discount the price of a stock when the dividend time comes around, or if some event that's the negative happens to the stock, the price drops. That's an automatic discount. It's like a supercomputer figuring out, hey, this stock sucks and it has done poorly, and we need to make it cheaper. Or another company is doing much better, and we need to appreciate their price. It's like wisdom of crowd, but crowds can also be a calculating machine. This is very interesting subject, that independent agents, they can come to realize truth or value of a product or a service based on calculations and considerations that are not easy to see or foresee, or many circumstances that are taken individually into account. Well, I'm a believer in prediction markets, and I think they do work, but there are also people like me, the psychics, that they study tremendous number of subjects. They have a good idea of what will happen. Well, we'll go over more of these very arcane and impossible to understand subjects in other videos. Alright, have a nice one.